G'day champions, just a quick preface to this video. I actually did this repair a while back, but when I published the video, it became clear on the second channel that something wasn't quite right. I didn't really pick it up in person, but listening through the headphones, there was like a zinginess, a strange overtone to the channel 2 distortion when you pushed it to pretty high gain levels. That turned out to be one of the preamps playing up. So I got the customer to bring it back because he actually needed it that weekend for a gig, but he only uses channel 1 generally anyway. But I said, look, bring it back. I'll figure out what's going on. Ended up replacing a valve at no cost to him and gave it back to him. But I didn't have a chance to redo the audio samples. I really try to make some good videos and samples and stuff, but at the end of the day, the customer service comes first because that's what pays the bills, and the videos are a bonus. So I hope you enjoyed it anyway. It essentially goes over the issues that were encountered in the amp, which is the important part, and there are some good sound samples at the end anyway. Enjoy. Alright, so while I was working in that area, I thought, well, we've got the board out. These caps look a tiny bit bulgy on the top. They're 105 degree rated Nichicons, which is what I'd use, but when I heated the area, I smelled that telltale electrolyte smell. It smells like friggin' formaldehyde or something. It smells like piss. So that's a telltale sign that you've got a leaking cap nearby. It doesn't take much to heat that stuff up, and it's very aromatic in a bad way. And you can see the stuff that's leaked onto the board there. These have like a sort of adhesive that they glue all the caps, all the radial caps to the board, and you often can't see if it's leaking or not around that adhesive. So this could have been the reason for the failure of the low voltage supply in this area. It is a pretty high heat area. You've got those diodes nearby. They're protection diodes. I don't think they'd be causing the heat problem, but you've got the two big heat sinks either side of it. And here's the bottom of the caps, crusty little buggers. So we'll clean that area up, replace those caps, and maybe investigate a bit further at the other ones. So just got a little bit of alcohol on a Q-tip there. Just, soaking up the loose stuff. Then we might need to do something a little bit more aggressive with the glue residue. Yummy! It's mainly flux, but you can see the glue crap in there as well. I'm just admiring my lens more than anything else. Oops, time for a new filter. Here's my desolder gun. There's the cartridge. The whole idea behind it is you don't have to touch the solder. Some of the other earlier designs, actually for this one I think you can get them too. It's got a glass tube with a little aluminium baffle in there, and you got to clean it out all the time. These are just disposable, so you hang on to them and dispose of them in a responsible manner. They do have lead in them, and then you put your new cartridge in. It's got idiot proof arrows there. You just push it in all the way. It protrudes from the other end. Line her up, release the catch, and there you have it. I broke this little clip on it. It still works at the moment, but it's supposed to have another wing coming off the other end. And my local rep quoted me like $100 for that tiny piece of plastic. Are you fucking for real? Found it for like $30 on Element 14. They're probably just buying them from there and putting their margin on, even though they're supposedly a paste dealer. It's like a lot of musical instruments and accessories as well. Are you a distributor, or are you just a retailer posing as a distributor and just putting your margin on like everyone else? You tell me. Now these little cap footprints are handy. See, they've got one pin by itself and then two others on the same pad. That's to allow for different lead spacings. Over the years you might find you've got to change like sources or even series of capacitors from one manufacturer, and the lead spacing of the available caps may be a little bit different, so they've allowed for both there. And as you can see, the old ones I think are about 5mm and the new ones are about 3mm. So I've got the new chip here. Just put a tiny dab of heat transfer compound. I use non-silicon because I'm a spray painter. Silicon's a dirty word around spray painters. Just position it there, and I'll grab the screw. Of course we make a mess as usual. Try and be careful, but this stuff just finds its way everywhere. We've got a tiny little caps nut, goes on the other end of that screw. Now the screw head's tiny, so we can't really grip it. I've got a little 3/16 socket here to get on the end of it. Just get us started. Hey, we didn't drop it. This is before soldering. We'll tighten it up just by hand, like I'm not gonna put 160 foot-pounds on it or nothing, but tighten it up first and then solder it later so there's no stress on the solder connections. Now these little sockets are great. I think they're Draper brand. Yeah, I bought these from that distributor I was just complaining about. But they've got a satin sort of matte finish to them, which is a bit grippy, and they've got this knurling here, so you can just use them by themselves without the need for a wrench for low torque stuff. I think King Chrome do a similar one. This knurling here, the tube on the tube socket, it's really good. So there you go, that's me being positive about something for once. Enjoy it while it lasts. Now I know I haven't shown you much footage of me soldering except for the live streams, primarily because it's a pain in the ass working around a camera. But there you go, don't tell me I never give you nothing. That was bad, Grandma. Now I'm not terribly confident in the reliability of these VXM radial caps either. 85 degree rated, manufactured in 1992 according to that date code, so I'm going to change them. There's no sign of residue on the board, but I had that Soldano the other day that was about this vintage, and two of them had already failed. So while we've got the board out, I'll at least chuck a 105 degree rated cap back in that position. I think these are fine. We'll know when we fire it up. So this is the part of a job that's a bit of a gamble. So these amps are 30 years old now. They're still considered sort of modern design amps. They're not like an old Fender or Marshall or something from the 70s, but 92, yeah, that's like 31 years ago. So we put it back together. We become part of the don't fix what ain't broke crowd, or do we just go the whole hog and replace a whole lot? For this one, I'm just going to replace what's broken because it came in non-functioning, and we'll perform any more diagnosis once it's operational and go from there. Alright, I did spy with my little eye another little 100 microfarad 25 volter there, and yeah, same story, buggered. There was another Nichicon nearby which is 10 microfarad 160 volt, and it wasn't leaking. You can see its footprint down on the board there is pretty clean, whereas this one's corroded, and it's also leached onto the neighbouring R120 contact there, and you can see the solder connection's gone all milky and gross and crusty. That's the electrolyte basically corroding the lead or the solder. So I'll have to clean up that whole area. You can sort of see where it bled out there. So it looks like there's something in particular wrong with those 100 microfarad 25 volt ones, so we'll change all of them out. I think that's the only last one anyway, but yeah, all the others look okay. So yeah, all Nichicons aren't immune to the old cap cancer either. But how cool is it that they not only give you the polarity on the silk screen and the capacitor designator, but they also give the value and the voltage. Sometimes you can just tell when an amp's designed by someone who's fixed amps before, and I think that's the case here. And look what happens when you try to recover one of those pads that's been attacked by the electrolyte. The flux and the residue goes this weird grey, zombie grey sort of frothy colour, and for a sec there you can't get the pad to take any solder, so all that's got to get cleaned up and possibly just lightly abraded with a little bit of fluxed braid. Abraded? Wow, didn't even mean to say that. Oh, it stinks so bad. But there's our pad, back from the dead. Give it another hit with a little bit of solder, just to make sure it's sticking on the entire pad. Try not to melt any jackets. Just a bit of isopropyl on a cotton bud. Nice shiny pad. We can reinstall that resistor. Well, it's all good to clean the pads up and get them nice and pretty. The other thing you got to check is that the through-hole plating is still intact, because you see those traces go off somewhere from the top of the cap, and you can't access that once you've installed the cap. So if you've got no connection there, there's going to be no connection from that cap to those traces, which will cause all sorts of problems depending on where it is in the circuit. Alright, well, I'm satisfied that that's ready to be put back together and tested. I was going to remove the regulator and hook up my bench power supply above here, up there, and just check the current draw on that rail. But the LM series has got overcurrent protection anyway, and passively just testing with the multimeter, I couldn't find any shorts on that rail, so I think it was just a spontaneous failure of that regulator chip, which happens from time to time. So let's get it back in, and we'll give it a test and do some sound samples. Alright, champions, everything's repopulated and reinstalled. Been a little bit zealous and reinstalled all the nuts, but I haven't put the knobs back on. Every time, it seems to be a curse, every time you put the knobs back on, you have to remove the board for another reason you didn't anticipate. So it's a little bit of a superstition thing. So I'll give it some juice, we'll check all the voltages, we'll check all the heaters are getting supply, we'll feed it some signal and see if we get any output this time. Alright, moment of truth, take it out of standby. Getting some output, but not much. Oh, helps if you turn up the signal generator. Alright, we got signal legends. A little bit of scratchiness on the pots there. Let's give it square wave. Check the tone stack. Scratchy on the treble. Click the channels over. Very scratchy on that master. Alright, so everything appears to be working. Check the heaters anyway, we know they work, but just want to see what voltage drop we've got across each set. 11.4 volts, that's series, remember. 12.45, 11.82, 11.57, 12.27. So a little bit uneven because you're relying on the current draw of each valve to balance itself. It's better off, in my opinion, just running everything up to V4 on AC, and then all the front end stuff on DC, so you're using less current. You don't need to regulate it either, just well filtered. Well, that's the way I'll do it anyway. But who am I? I ain't Rivera, so shut up, Brad. So I'll go through and clean all the pots. I'll check the dissipation of the output stage. We're drawing about 85 watts from the wall, so that's about in the ballpark I'd expect. But I'll calculate the actual dissipation, adjust it to 55%-ish. You know, may as well match the model number. And of course, before the big show, don't forget to wash your knob in the sink. It's rude not to. Alright, champions, she's got a low noise floor, she's producing a clean 50 watts. Everything's happy, all the pots have calmed down and they're all nice and quiet. All the voltages are what we expect. The valves are a bit out of balance, 61% on one side, well it's 46 on the other, so we've sort of centered it around you know, 55-ish%. And when I swapped the valves into sockets, the dissipation pretty much followed the valves, so just a little bit of an unmatched pair. That's a quick way of just determining whether there's a problem with the amplifier causing things to go out of whack, or if it's just your set not being real balanced. But it's good enough for rock and roll. But you know what I bloody forgot to do? That little fucker. So this whole board's got to come out again now, because I forgot to change that. And I really don't want to leave it in there because you can see the cracks starting to occur on the plastic casing, so that's not long for this world. So just because I'm stuffing around making a video, I forgot about doing that, so I'm going to take this board out, replace that because there's no way to get it out from the top of the board, and put it all back together again. So there it is removed. You can see the cracks and fracturing in the outer casing there on both sides, and that's showing you the AC rating. So yeah, that's probably unlikely to cause a real catastrophic fault because unlike a main suppression cap, this one is across the secondary, HT secondary, and there's two fuses, one on each winding before it, so I would have just popped one of those fuses, but get it all sorted while the board's removed. But anyway, live and learn. That one can go in the trash like all other reefers. Alright, champions, she's back together. Just going to test for microphonics and stuff. Have a listen to this. Hear that horrible ringing? So I thought it was one of the outputs, owl. Holding none of these stopped it. But I've encountered this before. Can't remember the amp, but it's the bell housing. It's just resonating. So I'll see if tightening it up works. If not, we might be able to put a little rubber pad on it, which I've done in the past. When it's in the cab, it's probably not as noticeable, but that could be pretty annoying. I only know this because I've encountered it before and it drove me crazy. Alright, so tightening the bolts didn't help, but I've got this adhesive rubber pad. Still there a little bit, but it's probably the other side too. Alright champions, so we'll do a bit of what we call tube rolling. So we've got some microphonics on V1. To the point where it's possibly gonna ring with the feedback from the speaker. So we'll pop that out, swap it with V2. They're all 12 AX7s and they all look like rubies. And they all look stock actually. They all look like the ones that came with the amp because they're all same font and everything, and same looking print. Fire it up again. I'll just turn it off so it doesn't pop. See, it's not ringing now. V1 being the parallel first stage. So that one's quite microphonic. This one less so. We'll probably get away with this one. Alright, I cleaned out the cab, removed and cleaned the reverb cables, gave them a proper wash, and just cleaned the connectors, cleaned the speaker cable, everything's nice and bright and shiny. Cleaned the magnet on the speaker so it's not covered in schmoo. Gave the outside a quick sort of wash, just with a tiny bit of detergent on a damp sponge. Removed the hardware and cleaned under that because you can never get right under it. Removed the grill just to inspect the speaker and make sure everything's cool, make sure there's no crap in between the cone and the grill cloth. Just gave it a good vacuum and cleaned around the ridge there as well because you can never get quite in there. It's a little bit strange how recessed the chassis is. It's almost like they made the cabinet 20mm deeper by accident or something, because that's flush with the grill at the front and it's a good like 40mm in. Strange. Alright, so as is always the case with an amp that comes in just non-functional, fire it up, get all excited, and no reverb. So touching the reverb return cable hums like crazy, so it's working in the amp and rocking the amp around. There's a weird rattly distortion sound, but not the normal thunderstorm sound you hear from the springs. So I've got a feeling it's a problem with the tank itself. I'll take that out and just have a look. Maybe we've got some broken connections there on one of the coils. Yeah. There's your problem, buddy. There's your problem. But that's the send coil. So, yeah. There's your other problem. What hope have we got, man? So I'll re-terminate them, and hopefully there's been no damage to the driver circuit. Just when I think it's safe to turn off the soldering iron. Oh, and the weird little earthing eyelet has broken off too. It's a kind of a weird setup. They've got some foil down there and a little eyelet screwed to the chipboard next to it. Would have just put a bit of LE plate on there, yeah. Just sandwich it against that. Could rattle a bit though, I guess. Okay, looking closely here, someone's repaired this before. I see the bit of blue wire there. That's Kynar wire, or wire wrapped wire. That's a single core. Good quality wire, but not meant to be flexed. So I think this will be this tank's last hurrah. And after that, we'll have to order a new one. And it would be nice to have the reverb tank in a little reverb tank bag down there, nice padded vinyl bag. just get a little bit more isolation from the speaker instead of being right next to it. But we'll see how it goes. There you go, legends. I don't have much time to do much testing on this one. I've got to get my plane back up to scratch still. I've been too busy to play. But you know, she's cooking again. It's not really my tone. It's pretty a little bit woofy on channel 2 and a little bit boxy on channel 1. But you know me, I'm a bit of a rock boy. You know, like the old Marshalls. So this is sort of more in the Fender region, I guess, in the nether regions. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what to do, champions. See you on the next one.